All righty, guys. Hey, I am here with Don Yoakum. And Don, I've had the pleasure of partnering with you here it's been about 12, 13 months now.
That's
And
right.
I have been very pleasantly, I shouldn't say surprised, but very happy with some of the guidance and insight you've been able to give me and inject into my business. But beyond that, I don't think there's a lot of people out there that know the whole Don Yoakum story and what you're about and the amazing accomplishments that go behind that name. So maybe you could kind of give us a little background of your story.
Sure. Well, thank you. And Sheldon, it's been a privilege and honor to work with you. And it's been fun to see your tremendous productivity and also the quality of people that you've attracted to the business. So
I
really appreciate being in
much.
business with you.
Likewise.
Yeah. So my story, I get, a lot of times when people ask me that, I'll start with my windsurfing background only because I was required to compete at a world-class level in that. I ended up becoming a 3-time national champion. I was on the Olympic training team. I toured the pro circuit for many years. And what it did is it created a discipline, or I had to develop a discipline to be competitive in that. That's carried through into many of other endeavors that I've done, including real estate. And so besides always thinking about, okay, well, what are the best people doing and what does it take to be like that? I'm pretty much always on a search for how I can improve myself, how I can bring more value to my team, and just how that we can be better this week than we were last week. And so after my windsurfing career, though, I did get into real estate. My first full year of the business was 1990, by the way. And I had the good fortune of joining Remax at that time, which is a fine company, and closed 51 deals and was quite successful through the 90s in spite of a pretty challenging environment in Sacramento Metro. I know you were just a young buck at those days.
I was all of 1990, all of about 6 years old, so
yes.
Knee deep in first grade problems.
Yeah, well, your dad got through that time, right?
Oh,
and
yeah,
with your
I've
family
always heard
brokerage.
the stories, yeah, and the interest rates of the 80s and the whole bit.
Yeah. I'm sure you've heard the stories going uphill in snow both directions, but
yeah, barefoot.
And some of those were actually true. The interest rates in the 80s and then the recession in the 90s were legit.
Yeah.
So that being said, I had a very successful sales career. I primarily was a listing agent and really enjoyed that. But to be candid, I really got burned out. And so in late 95, I took a sabbatical and I joined a tech company that was trying to enable electronic transaction. That was really the dawn of the internet. And that got me into corporate sales, which was fun. And that company ended up getting sold. I had a little bit of stock. They required me to sell it with the sale. And that was a good experience. I ended up becoming a regional manager for a title company at 13 reps. We did great, went from 8.58 to 13.65 market share in 2 years. Loved that, actually. And that's the role that I got recruited from into Keller Williams as a team leader.
Okay.
So I was the founding team leader for the first Keller Williams franchise in Northern California. Wayne Hall and I built that, and very successful. At one point, it was actually the most profitable Keller Williams in their entire franchise system. I went on with a variety of different partnerships to then launch successfully 9 other Keller Williams franchises. I think I may be the only person that has done that. And so from there, though, where did I do? After getting through the correction, that was a doozy, 2008.
Yeah, one for the ages.
Yes, indeed. And so got through that, though. And but I got to tell you that, especially being in the KW model at that time, I was pretty beat. I felt pretty exhausted from doing what I needed to do to get my brokerages through that environment. And I did. But at that point, I decided to coach. And so from 2010 to 16, pretty much just coach some of the top realtors and lenders in the country, including the #1 KW team in the world. And that got me exposure to a lot of this team building. And I think that was primarily the subject you wanted to cover today.
Yeah, and it seems right. There's kind of that history of it, going back all the way from just the dedication and commitment it takes, from the professional athlete front all the way through. And then you mentioned your days, in the title industry and things like that. The team building seems to be kind of a recurring theme.
It is, and
I progressed.
It is. I really enjoy the recruiting process of searching out talent and being able to get in business with them. I like that even more. And then pursuing a worthy goal together, of course, is pretty cool. And so I have been very fortunate in that regard. And I learned a lot about that at KW, frankly, which has been valuable. And then I also have the opportunity to observe a lot of, quote, production team leaders. And while some of these guys, and men and women, were just incredibly talented, I was observing just a tremendous amount of dysfunction on these teams and attrition, actually. And so finally, I ended up writing a document called The 5 Fatal Flaws of Teams, which I know you're familiar with, but if you want, I could go through those real quick.
Yeah, and I was going to say, so it sounds like a lot of that observation from more of a leadership, and in your case, an ownership standpoint, these brokerages is probably what led to now what we're discussing in some of your mentor apprentice program and the development behind that. So, I mean, was that really kind of the genesis of how you created this?
Yeah, well, you know what it came from, Sheldon, is I saw these super talented people trying to manage their businesses and, quite frankly, really struggling with it. And, one of the things that you want to be able to do is attract talent, first of all, and then you want to be able to continue to build on the opportunity for them so that they don't have a desire to seek it somewhere else. Well, I wasn't seeing that in these teams. Instead, in fact, I consider that to be the first fatal flaw of teams, is really talented agents would come into one of these teams, get up to a couple transactions a month, realize, gosh, I'm already in the top 20%. Why am I paying this person 50% of my commission? And they would leave.
Yeah.
And which was, rips your heart out as a team leader, because you've put your time, money, and energy into this person. They're finally successful and perhaps contributing to the profitability of the team. No sooner does that occur than they're out the door. Okay? And it's hard to blame them, because they are in the top 20%, and it's not necessary for them to achieve that level of sales in order to be on a production team that was organized in that way. Okay, so that was the first problem we had to solve for, is how do we attract talent but then stay in business with talent?
Yeah, like you say, yeah. How do you keep them around once you get them up and going?
Right, and I'll circle back to that. But and I guess what I can address it now, and this is a question that one can ask themselves whenever they're being approached for an opportunity, is, may I or can I achieve the success that you're having by staying with you, or will I ultimately have to leave? Right?
Yeah.
And what I like about the mentor program that I've developed and that we're now building on the EXP platform is I can go to somebody like yourself or an apprentice that you and I may attract together, and we can legitimately say to them, yes, you're going to have to pay your dues, okay? But you can become a top producing agent like you and I have. Let's call it icon level in our business model is about 30 plus transactions a year. That will probably take you 2 to 3 years to do that. And at that point, you can become a mentor. In fact, we'll help you go find and attract and train your apprentices, and you can have a team just like us, right? And so you're able to go to really big talent, not put any sort of limitation on them. In fact, encourage them to grow their business as fast as they possibly can. Let's say up to 3 deals a month, become an icon, and then you simply rinse and repeat the process. They become an icon, they become a mentor, they become a team leader, right?
Yeah,
and we
that
help
really
support that.
Yeah, it really addresses that problem of training that talent and growing it. And then, yeah, now you're not watching it or watching it walk out the door. I mean, if anything, you're more incentivized to help them grow and reach that level even faster.
Well, exactly. And that is a key thing that you just said there is it's vitally important that both parties have the same motive.
Yep.
Right? And our motive is we want to grow this person's business as fast as possible so that they actually, even though they're graduating from our team, they're becoming a mentor in our organization. And then we're helping them to build a team as well, which on the EXP platform enables us to, we have a vested interest in seeing that succeed, right? It's not just
Correct.
that we're good guys. And so
we are good guys though.
Yeah, true. It's a win-win, right? Okay, so, but that's fatal flaw number one is you got to have a big enough opportunity for talent, and you have to have an opportunity that can continue to grow. And so you're never putting a limit on their ability to build something of significance. And some of them are going to go on to not only having $250,000 in personal production, they're going to end up building another $250,000 in mentor income. And if they've built all this on the XP platform, they're going to have a 6-figure passive income as well.
And right, that in itself can leave you speechless. And it's like you said many times over. I mean, I've never seen an opportunity like this in my career. And that's ultimately what led me to the decision of giving up the brokerage and partnering up with you. But kind of touching back on some of those flaws, I know you've kind of outlined the 5 fatal flaws of the existing team, and we covered number 1 there in a little more depth. What are the other common ones that you tend to run into?
Well, number 2 is one of the type of person that has historically joined a team has been attracted to it partially due to the fact that the teams tend to generate a lot of leads. The one thing that they do have is phenomenal lead gen systems, okay? And so that part's all good, okay, although it's expensive way of doing business. But the reality that hits that agent that kind of has more of a dependent type mentality is as soon as they get there, well, the team leader wants them to also prospect because they're spending so much money on lead gen. They need to balance that out between lead gen and by referral business or sphere of influence and such. And truth be told, the person was more looking to be fed, wasn't so much looking to learn how to fish. Okay. Yeah. And so the brutal reality of it is they actually have to work. And a lot of folks in our industry, because the barrier of entry tends to be relatively low, don't work that hard and certainly don't do it in a disciplined manner. Maybe even as much as they just did in their previous career, right? And so they fail. And the irony is they usually fail in about the same time that the talent leaves, which is 6 to 18-month window. It's about how long it takes for them to realize that actually real estate sales is pretty tough. It's not complicated, it's pretty simple, but it's hard work.
It's work, yeah, and you're gonna get out of it what you put into it. But you probably stole the words out of my mouth in the beginning of that, and it's getting out of that dependent mindset, and like you said, actually teaching them how to fish, which is everything. It really is. Right. It seems like we shouldn't have to say that over and over again, but we find ourselves there.
So flaw number 3 is the brand. Okay. So, and this really only applies to the talent, because the dependent-minded person isn't really thinking about developing their own brand, because they're thinking of depending on the team to kind of rain referrals and leads
And
onto them,
yeah,
right? But remember, the person we really want to be in business with is the talent. So what happens is the talent is out doing an open house and putting out a dozen or 2 dozen signs, all branded to the team leader, and simultaneously doing a couple transactions a month. And those open house signs, remember, are like little mini billboards in a community, right?
oh yeah,
So they're looking at that sign, and, you know, midsummer in your neck of the woods, they're sweating bullets, it's hot, okay? And they're asking themselves, what the heck am I doing out here promoting this guy's brand when he's on the golf course? Okay.
Oh man, I remember those days of putting those signs up. Yeah, 105 degrees out, and you're racing back to the car in the AC, and
Yeah.
no fun.
Well, and the thing of it is, though, if you're building something for yourself, you're building, because the talent knows they're eventually going to need to build their own brand. And so they kind of look at themselves and go, you know, eventually I'm going to need to build my brand. I'm already among the top 20%. I may as well do it now. So they leave. If they hadn't left because of the commission split before, they leave because of the brand.
Yeah, they start to get almost bitter in a sense.
Yeah, because, you know, we had been taught to have a 7th level team. Well, that means you're not really working in production. And so if you, in fact, have achieved a 7th level team, well, then you're on the golf course.
There we go. So what was the next one that you've outlined for us?
So number 4 is skin in the game. Okay. And this does 2 things. And by the way, I should have pointed out that when an apprentice is in the mentor apprentice program, which I've designed, of course, everything is branded to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so that's why this next point, which is skin in the game, becomes so important. If the agent is going to contribute to the financial investment of lead gen, they want it to be in their brand, not the team leader's brand. Okay. And so that agent, first of all, we attract them with a more favorable split, right? It's not the traditional 50-50.
Correct.
Right? We typically do 70-30. If they're a higher producer already, then they would even start at a higher rate than that. And we split the expenses proportionate to the split. So if they're getting 70, they pay 70, right? And so we are not only are we mentoring them, but we're sharing the costs with them to put all of this branding into their name, into their marketplace.
That's very significant. Anytime, right, somebody's got some type of financial skin in the game, typically their interest is going to be much higher, as well as the level of engagement.
Absolutely. Well, and also, you know, as a professional coach, one of the things that I do, of course, is I train people to be able to generate business without spending much money, either through their sphere or open houses or specific targeted calling or prospecting techniques that we have them. In fact, what we do, one of the first things, Sheldon, is we have them choose a geographic area, typically a zip code, as long as that zip code has approximately 10,000 rooftops. And our stated goal for them is to make them number 1 in that market in 36 months.
That's impressive. And
yeah,
I love this zero in focus on it, right? Because so many new agents, it feels like they're just going in different directions, and what tool and this and that, what do I do next? And it kind of drawing the line in the sand, so to speak, how you've mentioned, and then, hey, look, here's the goal. Within 36 months, you know, you're going to be the dominant agent in this area.
That's right. And it's surprisingly easy to do if one focuses. Now, but there's another huge benefit, and that is if we have had them deploy what I call a 4-pillar marketing approach, each of those individual marketing initiatives become more effective, or the results are magnified because you're doing them all in the same area. for example, what will happen is you'll be mailing into a community either by snail mail or electronic mail, and then they'll see you at an open house. Hey, Sheldon, aren't you the guy that's been sending us those market updates? Well, matter of fact, I am. Or vice versa, they met you at an open house, and then 6 months later, when they're actually ready to move, the mail arrives. Hey, you know, remember Sheldon? He seemed like a pretty nice guy. Here he is now giving us an update. He seems committed to our community. Why don't we give him a call and have him come over and evaluate whether or not we want to have him list our home, right? And so individually, all of those things do work, but when you do them in a concentrated geographic area, they do better. And that's what we're looking for, is a magnified return for our apprentice.
Exactly, I love it. So what is big number 5?
Number 5 is geography, and that's an interesting one because historically these teams have been built in a local market. Well, that gives, again, that team leader incredible brand presence, right? Because they've got literally hundreds of transactions going on under their brand, okay? It does nothing for brand value for the apprentice, though, or the sub-agent, okay?
Correct.
But even worse, what happens is each person that you add to one of those legacy, that old model team, you are basically diluting the value of the team. Meaning, because all of these agents are essentially eating from the same trough, right? Or the same lead pool, I guess you could say, right? And they're literally competing against each other. And so what we do is when we engage with an apprentice, we give them an exclusive for that market, that zip code, right? And we, in a perfect world, they are in referral markets to each other. And so each time we add someone to the team, it actually increases the value of the team because they're not only a referral partner to us, but they are to each other. Right?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So those are the 5.
Yeah, no, and it's just that constant value add as you go through it all, which is incredible. So you obviously have been implementing this to a degree now. How has it been going so far?
Awesome. Well, you referred Michelle to me. And
that is, and I, that text that you sent over is probably one of the greatest testimonials ever. But from maybe somebody who's just coming in, I mean, what does day one look like for them? If they say, hey, I'm ready, I'm raising my hand, I want to be coached by this guy who's managed over. How many agents did you have at the height of your brokerage ownership?
A little over 5,000, doing over $5 billion a year in sales.
Yeah, that's incredible. So let's say we get an agent raises their hand and I want to be coached by Don. I want that level of engagement and mentorship. I mean, what does day one look for him? What does the process look like for him?
Sure. Well, first of all, we're looking for people that are interested in making a full-time commitment to real estate, right? Real estate is not a part-time opportunity. I have seen people successfully transition from other jobs, but not because they took real estate part-time. Okay, so I look, first, we need a concentrated full-time commitment.
Yeah, and maybe I should even shorten that. And obviously, this isn't for everybody, right? There's a limited number of opportunities to go around, and geographically, and then even time-wise, obviously.
That's right. So, because when we take on an apprentice, we're taking on a commitment that we're going to work with them to cause them to become number one, right? And so we're not going to have a massive team. And as a matter of fact, it's not just me, right? Matter of fact, as you and I team up, you being the local area specialist, the contract specialist, myself as the productivity coach, they get the best of both worlds, right? And what I mean by that is that when you are getting into real estate, it's really important that you have a focused plan actually a written business plan, which will help them do. That's primarily my job.
Mhm.
And they also, they are comfortable and know how to fill out contracts. Part of our commitment is that the local area specialist, you in this case, actually will go on their first 2 listing appointments with them, because listings are a little more of an intangible sale. And so it's nice to be able to observe a pro doing that before you're put in the position where you have to, quote, sell yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so what they can expect, though, is to be mentored by 2 highly proven professionals, at least one of which is local to them. They can be, they'll be assisted in putting together a business plan. As you know, I do a training for the team every week, Tuesday, 10 o'clock. And so they'll be able to attend that. And this isn't like a coaching relationship. This is really more like a mentor relationship. So they don't have to have an appointment to text or call me or you, right? When they have a deal, they want response right now, right?
Yeah.
And they're nervous as all get out, and they want to know, what do I put in those blanks? Which is another point, by the way. We do a lot of contract training with them. And so within 90 days, actually, they have got that contract just nailed. They know how to fill out all the forms of every type of structured offer that you could imagine. They know how to negotiate the physical inspections. They know how to work with their transaction coordinator, which we do have them engage for every transaction. And then they're in, they've got the camaraderie of a team as well. So there's a little bit of esprit de corps. We meet also as a team every week, and we have, support and accountability through that. They're also, we get them role playing with each other, right? So I will role play with them as a coach, but then they should be doing that in addition, right?
And like you said, with that first 90 days, you're really getting them fully immersed and comfortable. So when they are in front of a buyer or seller, having that confidence within you, obviously, people can see it, they feel it, and it makes a huge difference towards your productivity. But
yes, and you touched on one thing about confidence, and one of the other things that we do, and the reason why we have them choose a geographic area, is because within 90 days, we set up a previewing plan for them, such that by the end of that first 12 weeks, there's no realtor in their community that knows the current inventory and values better than them. And what that does is it gives them that confidence to be able to speak as a knowledgeable professional in their market. So,
I couldn't agree with that more.
Right? Yeah.
So really, there's probably a couple ideal fits for this program, and one being an agent, let's say that's not up to 30 deals yet. You could be at 0 deals or 20 deals, but the goal is, right, to get you up to that at least 30 point. Probably being.
Well, I should point out, though, if they are already at 30, they're an icon in our model. They should contact us and ask what it would take for them to be a mentor.
Yep, and that's that's exactly where I was going to go next. Is so there's kind of 2 legs to it, and fits really for people, which is incredible. And then obviously the growth that can go on beyond that with the platform we're currently on together. Right. And so. Awesome, Don. I really appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward, obviously, to participating and helping you with this program. And I think that you've really addressed some of the key flaws in the current team model, and the solution that you've come up with, I think, is brilliant. And just the way it's intertwined, right, with the platform we're on. It's incredible, and the collaboration aspect of it all. So I'm excited for it. I'm pumped. It's going to
awesome. Well, I am too. I mean, it is uncommon, when you're doing something that is relatively new, to have it get so much traction, work so well, and and it's imperfect still, But what I have noticed, Sheldon, is that it does attract a higher caliber person, and it enables them to grow at a much more rapid rate. And it doesn't put any limit on their capabilities. And we're excited to see them grow and graduate, right? It was funny, over the weekend, another one of my agents, which, this is a young man. I don't know if you know Andrew Brain, but 22 years old. And I'm mentoring him, and he's doing awesome. And he's putting together another deal right now. And I says, man, congratulations. It's really fun to see your success. And he goes, well, Don, I don't see how you can not succeed in this system, right? So he's obviously got the right attitude. But this is a 22-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Okay? And he is just crushing it. And it's pretty cool to see.
I love it. Like you said, right, we're not here to limit your capabilities or your growth. We want to see you break the ceiling. So yeah. That's the beauty of it. But obviously, hey, we'll drop the links and everything in below. And then anybody who does want a little more info and want to see if you even qualify for it, whether it be a mentor or an apprentice, we've got some great things set up too. And if you just go to thementorsurvey.com, check that out, and go ahead and you can click a few questions in there and jump right into Don or Ike's calendar. We'll reach out to you, see if it's a good fit, and take it from there. So I really appreciate your time, Don, and let's keep growing this thing.
Yeah, thank you, Sheldon. Have a great day.
We'll talk to you later.
Yep.